Archaic Records.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Archaic Records here with you again. My name is Jamie, coming at you from Nashville, Tennessee. Here to wish you a very happy Morrissey Monday, my weekly celebration of all things Morrissey and the Smiths. And this week, despite being a day late, I've got an episode I hope will be a good time for you. An episode which is inspired by one of the greatest movies of all time, the 1999 John Cusack classic, High Fidelity. Now, if this isn't my favorite movie of all time, it's easily in my top two. Usually my favorite movie bounces back and forth between this one and the 1931 Bela Lugosi Dracula. Today being Halloween, I would say that the Dracula movie would win today. But I do remember I saw this movie 3 times in the theater when it first came out. I've been just hooked ever since. I've probably watched this movie literally 300 or 400 times. I never get tired of it. This is a movie really that any record nerd or sort of music dweeb should be able to relate to. Anyway, for today's Morrissey Monday, I'm going to be ranking the Morrissey albums based on their side one and track one. Now, if you watched my first Morrissey Monday video in which I ranked the Morrissey albums, first off, thank you very much. I do appreciate it. Second, if you haven't, no biggie, but if you haven't, let me give you a little bit of the ground rules. There are 19 albums on this ranking list, all 4 of the Smiths studio albums, as well as all of Morrissey's solo catalog, including 2 records, which are technically compilations. The reason why the 2 albums that are technically compilations are on this ranking is because, one, they're 2 of my favorite compilations in the catalog, and 2, because these 2 albums, they don't really feel like compilations to me. They feel more like albums, and one of them, if you watched my first Morrissey album ranking video, one of them is my favorite album of all time. So it just gets included no matter what. Anyway, there are a couple things I took into consideration when I was ranking these albums by their side one, track one. One was just the songs themselves, the order in which I just liked the songs. And 2, if there was a tiebreaker or a situation where things got tight, I also took into consideration how that song performs as a side one and track one. Now, a side one and track one song off any record, I'm always very fascinated by that. That's something that's just always captivated me, how an artist chooses which song goes first on a record. Does it set the tone for the record? Does it get you interested in the record? Especially nowadays, we live in a society of people who have just such short attention spans. You click on something, you click right off it. I think now more than ever, the first track on an album is actually really important to get somebody interested. So that was a couple of the things that I took into consideration when judging these songs. A lot of it is just, how much I like the songs compared to each other. Now, this actually turned out to be a lot of fun, for one, but 2, actually, this turned out to be a lot more difficult than I expected. I thought this would be much easier than ranking the albums when I did that. And that was something that, although I loved doing it, it was a lot of fun, it was really difficult. It caused kind of a headache for me, especially towards the top end of the catalog. And this was sort of the same way. There was a couple times where there was a real, almost just a flip of the coin. Anyway, I'm going to get into this. At the end of the video, if you watch it all the way through, first off, thank you again. But second off, feel free to join the conversation. Tell me what you think of my rankings. Tell me what you think of me. I got thick skin. This isn't just all fat. Some of this is thick skin. I can take it, man. But also let me know what you think, where you would rank some of these songs in the Morrissey catalog as far as the side one, track ones. And also, do you think that a side one and track one is as important or as interesting as I do? Like I said, I've always been just captivated by the first song on a record. There's some artists out there that I notice are very talented at picking a side one and track one of a record. They set the mood, they set the tone. I really think that that's something that's just always interested me. And I think that this is a topic that Rob Gordon, Dick, and Barry would all approve of. In fact, there's a scene in High Fidelity where Rob chooses the topic of side one and track one as they are having one of their record nerd outs, which was sort of the inspiration for this week's episode of Morrissey Monday. A day late and probably $1 short. Story of my life. All right, man, let's get into this. Right into it. I don't need to waste any more of your time than I already have, so let's go. For me, number 19. This album came out in 1995. The album is Southpaw Grammar, and the song is Teachers Are Afraid of the Pupils. When I did my Morrissey album ranking, Southpaw Grammar was also the 19th ranked album for me. Now, the song, Teachers Are Afraid of the Pupils, for one thing, this song is over 11 minutes long, sort of unnecessarily over 11 minutes long. In my opinion, I think the song would be much better if it were sort of cut in half. I like the first half of the song. After that, it just meanders too much. I've never really understood the point of Morrissey having a song that's 11 minutes. Now, I get it if you're a band that's very technical. The first bands the bands that pop to mind, at least for me, are bands like Rush and Dream Theater. I get it if you're doing all kinds of sort of nonsensical bullshit within a song. But for Morrissey, I don't really understand the point of it. I generally don't really like songs that are, over 10 minutes long. Now, that's not a steadfast, hardened rule. My all-time favorite Kraftwerk song is Autobahn, which takes up the first side of that LP. But that song is perfect almost in every way. It keeps your interest. It keeps you captivated. For me, the Teachers Are Afraid of the Pupils. It meanders. I also, again, this is my least favorite Morrissey record. I don't really listen to it very often. I don't like the production on it. To me, Southpaw Grammar is kind of like your relative, who's always in and out of county jail. He's always dating somebody that's really trashy. He's always getting his life together. You still love him because he's part of the family. He's got some good traits. I mean, this album does have good songs on it. But at the end of the day, you visit it once a year around the holidays and you call it good. I mean, I don't dislike you. You're just disappointing is all. So for me, number 19, that's easy, is The Teachers Are Afraid of the Pupils. Number 18, for me, from 2009, the first of two records on this ranking. I mentioned that are technically compilations, and that is Good Looking Man About Town off of the 2009 album Swords. I really like this album a lot. I really like the song Good Looking Man About Town. It's much better than The Teachers Are Afraid of the Pupils, in my humble opinion. I think if this song creates or commits any crime at all, it's that it's just a little bit boring. I don't think it sets a tone for an album. I would like the song a lot more, or I do like the song, but in this ranking, I think it loses points as a side one, track one. I don't think that this song necessarily, grabs you by the onions and is like, oh man, you got to listen to this whole album. I love Swords. I've actually gone through a big phase lately of listening to this record. I had gone a while without listening to it. I love this album. I mean, holy smokes. I saw this tour. This was a great tour. But as far as a side one and track one, Good Looking Man About Town is number 18. It's a good song. It just doesn't, grab you for me. Number 17 from 2006 from the album Ringleader of the Tormentors is the song I Will See You in Far Off Places. Now, I would say pretty much the exact same thing I just said about Good Looking Man About Town, about I Will See You in Far Off Places. It's a good song. I like the song a lot. I don't particularly like it as a side one and track one. I think that there are other songs on this record that I think would have served the record a lot better as the kickoff track. As far as the record goes, Ringleader of the Tormentors, I do love this record. I think a lot of us do. For me, I've always said this about this record, was that it was just kind of a disappointment coming after You Are the Quarry. I mean, You Are the Quarry, it's almost unfair, right? It's almost unfair to this record because it came out after You Are the Quarry, and You Are the Quarry just set the bar so high again that I don't think that this record could have lived up to anything that You Are the Quarry created. In my opinion, you may disagree. That's awesome. But for me, I Will See You in Far Off Places is number 17. I like the song. I don't love it as a side one, track one. And for me, Ringleader of the Tormentors is 2/3 really good. It's got a little bit of clunkage. I've said this before. It has my all-time least favorite Morrissey song. I hate saying that. God damn, I hate saying that. But my all-time least favorite Morrissey song is Dear God, Please Help Me. I just don't like it. That's a skipper every time. All right, number 16 for me. From 2014, this album is almost 10 years old, man. I cannot even begin to wrap my brain around that. But it is the title track from Morrissey's 2014 album, World Peace Is None of Your Business. This is an album I said on my Morrissey ranking. I just can't really still to this day figure out how I feel about this record. Some of it is really good. Some of it doesn't really connect to me. Now, I've talked to people that love this record. I've actually talked to some people who think that this is a top 5 or 6 record. Morrissey himself, when he ranked his album for the NME, or his catalog for the NME, he put this one at number 1. For me, I don't remember exactly where I ranked the album, but it was very much towards the bottom. I like the title track, World Peace Is None of Your Business. I think it's a good side one, track one for this album. I love the album cover, by the way. I will say that this is one of my favorite album covers in the Morrissey catalog. I like World Peace Is None of Your Business as a song. Again, this record is almost 10 years old. I'm going to make it my homework assignment for this year, for 2024, as the sort of 10-year anniversary, to really kind of decide how I feel about this album. It's 10 years old. I still really haven't figured out how I feel about it. I don't know why. Anyway, number 15, side one, track one. For me, from 2020. I love this record. Again, this is a record I've talked about. Some people love, some people not so much. But for me, it is Jim Falls off of I Am Not a Dog on a Chain. I really like this song a lot. I kind of like the sort of Gary Newman, pseudo Trent Reznor, kind of industrial intro. Now, I really like the song. Now, this album is a tough album to kind of set the tone for with a side one, track one. Just because this album goes in so many different directions sonically and musically that I don't know that the song or any song could really set the tone for the whole album. I like Jim Falls. I don't think it's necessarily The high point on the record, I think when I talked about this record on the video, on the episode I did about this record, I think I told you that as I started listening to this record for the first time, the first 3 songs, they were kind of like, wasn't sure, I wasn't in love with it. I do like the song, but there's just so many better, and a few that aren't as good as this one. So I would say that Jim Jim Falls as a side 1, track 1, is basically just your run-of-the-mill, middle-of-the-roader as far as I'm concerned. I do like it. I love that album. I really do. On the last tour, the 40th anniversary tour, Morrissey played Darling I Hug a Pillow, at least here in Memphis and Nashville. I like that song a lot. If I could only choose to hear one off that record, I don't think that would be it. Sorry, Steve, I still love it. Anyway, number 14 now for me from 1997, the title track off of Maladjusted. I really like this song a lot. It is a very unique song. I think that this is a very unique album, even within the Morrissey catalog, which is full of unique albums. The big guy never repeats himself, in my opinion. I think that's why he has kept the fan base he has. I think that's why he's kept us so interested and captivated over the years. I remember I bought this record right on the day it came out, and you could tell right when the song Maladjusted started that this was going to be a different beast, and it really is. I love this record, and I've said this before ad nauseum. This is a record that is divisive. It is somewhat controversial within the catalog by fans. But I think in some ways that makes it one of my favorite albums to talk about, especially with other fans, because this one does tend to bring out emotions in people. Some people really don't like it. Some people really like it. I mentioned this when I talked about the Maladjusted record on this channel, that somebody told me that they would even take this one over Viva Hate, which I like that statement, but you're wrong, friend. All right, number 13 for me. This one also from 2009, from Years of Refusal. The song is Something Is Squeezing My Skull. I really love that song, and I think that song as a side 1, track 1, is just a great way to set the tone and the mood for this record. This was another record I bought, of course, right when it came out. Of course, this followed Ringleader of the Tormentors, which for me has always been a little bit of a disappointment. Like I said, following You Were the Quarry, which is not its fault. I don't think anything could have followed You Were the Quarry. But I remember I bought this record right when it came out, and I hadn't heard the song Something Is Squeezing My Skull yet. And I was just like, wow, this is different. This is noisier. This is louder. This is clankier. This is rockier than we're used to. And I think it really sets the tone for this record. I love this album. This is a record I go back to all the time. I love the production on this record. I love his voice. I love the songwriting. And for me, Something Is Squeezing My Skull just sets the tone great for this record. I love Years of Refusal. I love that record. All right. Number 12 now for me. From 1984, Reel Around the Fountain, from the 1984 self-titled debut album by the greatest band of all time, The Smiths. I love the song Reel Around the Fountain. It gets points for being such a great song, but where it loses points for me is as a side 1, track 1. I think if you move this song down on the record just a little bit, I think it's better. I don't love it as a side 1, track 1. It's just kind of a slow, it's a beautiful song. I love Reel Around the Fountain. I'm not dogging it at all. I love it. I just don't love it as a side 1, track 1, especially on your first record. I just, I think you could have chosen, there's a lot of other songs on this album you could have chosen as the side one, track one. Even actually just switch this with You've Got Everything Now. Put that one and Reel Around the Fountain number 2. I think it does a better job. I love this album. I'm not dogging it. I love that song. But for me, it loses points as a side one, track one. All right. Number 11, now from 2017, from the album Low in High School, is the song My Love, I Do Anything for You. I love that song. One of my favorite songs off of this album. It's energetic, it's loud, it's angry, it's got great message, great lyrics, great song. I love this song as a song, for one, and two, it also gets bonus points for being, I think, a great intro to the record, side one, track one. The lyric, teach your children to recognize and despise all the propaganda, and I'm hooked at that point in time. I really like this album a lot also. This album has some stuff on it I don't love, but I love My Love, I Do Anything for You as a side one. Track one, I remember I bought this album right when it came out, of course. Put it on, and that song just got me hooked. And again, I love the message of that song. I love the lyrics. To me, that is just a killer tune. I have to say, on the last tour, Morrissey played, is it on here? No. Yeah, it is. He played I Wish You Lonely off of this record, which I love that song. It's the second song on this record. But man, that song was so good live. That song is so much better live. But I would put My Love, I Do Anything for You. I like that as a side one. Track one. And now we're getting into the top 10. This is where it really started to get hard and tight. Insert Michael Scott joke there, I guess. Anyway, from 2019, I love this album, California Sun. I love the song Morning Starship. Of course, this is the all-cover album. Morning Starship, as you all know, is a song written and performed originally by an artist named Jabriath. Sort of an American wannabe David Bowie. Now, due to the recommendation, the constant recommendation of Morrissey, I've gone back and listened to a lot of the Jabriath catalog. It's okay, in my opinion. I do love the song Morning Starship, and I love Morrissey's version of it. But to compare anybody to David Bowie is dangerous, in my opinion. I mean, he's my number 2 of all time, only behind the big guy. I do love this song. I really love this record a lot. When I did my album ranking, this album fell back a little bit in the pack, only because it's all covers. Like I've said, in 2019 when this record came out, finding out that Morrissey was doing an album of all covers, I was a little bit unsure how I felt about it at the time, just because he's such a great writer. He's so prolific. He's always got so much great material, seemingly ready to go. I like this record a lot. I think it's a very vital piece of the catalog, and I really like Morning Starship. I love that song. It's not my favorite song off the record. My favorite song off of California Sun is Days of Decision, the old Phil Oakes cover, because Phil Oakes is my favorite folk artist of all time. But I love California Sun. Number 9, now it's starting to get tough. Now it's starting to get good. It's all good, right? It's all good. Come on. From Your Arsenal, the song is You're Gonna Need Someone on Your Side. I really love this song a lot. I mean, who doesn't love Your Arsenal? This is one of the classics in the entire catalog. I mean, you could argue there's a lot of classics in the catalog. I really love this record. I love You're Gonna Need Someone on Your Side. I love how it drops in. It's a great side one, track one. I think it sets a great tone for the mood and the sound of this record. Really, I mean, Your Arsenal, there's just nothing really bad you can say about this album. The one song I've always sort of, I don't want to say dismissed, but the song I've kind of like, sometimes as a skipper for me off this record is You're the One for Me, Fatty. On the recent 40-year tour, 40th anniversary tour, at least here in Nashville, he played We Hate It When Our Friends Become Successful. I love that song. Again, if I was only going to have the opportunity to choose one song from your arsenal, I don't believe that would be the one I would choose. But I love You're Gonna Need Someone on Your Side. Gets points for being a great song and points for being a great side one. Track one, I could say the same thing about number 8, which is from 1988, Viva Hate. The song is Alsatian Cousin. I love this song. This is not calling it a deep track, although maybe, I don't know if you could say it's really a deep track. I love it. I think it's a very overlooked song in Morrissey's catalog. I love how it sets the tone for this record. I mean, Viva Hate, there's just nothing bad on this album at all. I believe when I ranked my Morrissey albums, I think this one was number 4. I love Alsatian Cousin. It's kind of raw. It's kind of loud and sort of angry, I guess is a good way to describe it. I love it. I love Viva Hate. I think Alsatian Cousin is just a very underrated, overlooked song. I mean, that album is so good, though, that I guess some of the deeper cuts maybe get a little bit overlooked. For me, number 7, from 2004, this is my third favorite Morrissey album of all time and my favorite tour I ever got an opportunity to see. I got to see this tour twice when the album first came out, and that is America Is Not the World off of You Are the Quarry. Man, I wish I could go back to 2004 again and feel the excitement I felt when this record first came out. I love America Is Not the World. I love when Morrissey gets snotty and kind of angry. I don't know if it's really an angry song, but I love when he gets snarky and snotty. I love this song. I think it sets a tone for this album brilliantly. I mean, there's just some better songs, in my opinion, coming up. I don't necessarily think it's the best song off of this record. My best friend, Tim, back in California, who I think likes this album, he says he doesn't like this song because Morrissey says the word hamburger. And he says that somebody, it sounds weird coming out of Morrissey's voice, the word hamburger, like you're some, slob at a McDonald's drive-thru. But anyway, I love America's Not the World. Who doesn't love You Are the Quarry? Man, that tour was the balls. Anyway, number 6 for me, from 1991. The album is Kill Uncle, and the song is Our Frank. And and I love the song Our Frank. I love this record. This was an album when I first got it, and I first started listening to it. It took me a long time to figure out how I felt about Kill Uncle. Several years, really. But when it finally hit me and it finally stuck to me, I love this record. This is one that I go back and listen to a lot when I just put on a full album. This is one of my go-tos. And I think Our Frank is such a great song, such a great intro to the album, such a great side one, track one. It really fits the mood of the record. Man, I love Kill Uncle. I'm not kidding. This is one of the records to me that is just go-to all the time. Out here in Tennessee in 2000 on the 40th anniversary tour, he left this song out of the Memphis show because he wanted to do an Elvis Presley cover appropriately while you're in Memphis. I was a little disappointed, Steve, but he did play it the next night in Nashville. Man, for me, number 6, holy smokes, I love the song Our Frank. Now we're getting into the top 5, and now, man, this is where Again, I said at the beginning of this video, I thought this video would just be pretty easy. But this is kind of where my head started to ache a little bit. But 1995 from 1987, Strange Ways Here We Come is the song A Rush and a Push and The Land Is Ours. And there's just nothing bad really on this album at all. My one sort of speed bump, at least for me on this record, I've said it before, is the song Girlfriend in a Coma. You know, I don't hate that song. It's just so like overplayed and silly. He played it out here for the 40th anniversary tour. I mean, that's a song, you know, I could have easily traded something out for, but I love A Rush and a Push and The Land Is Ours. I think it sets the tone. It is just such a great song. I love the way it drops in. I love his voice. I just love this song. For me, it's number 5. There's a couple things better, but not a lot in my opinion. I love that song. For me, number 4, starting to get tough. Starting to get real tough right about now, but number 4 for me, from 1990, the greatest album of all time, in my opinion. The second album, which is technically a compilation, I know. Sorry. My favorite album of all time, Bona Drag. I love Piccadilly Polari, a song that's got an interesting subject matter, but I do love it. I love this album. This was the album which started my fandom back in high school. When I founded this album, the term changed my life or life-changing gets overused. You're looking at it right here in the flesh. You can touch it when your life was changed. Piccadilly Polari. I love that song. Number 4 on my side 1, track 1 ranking. There's not a bad song, and there's not a bad second on this entire album. Like I said, I know it's a compilation. You're not telling me anything I'm unaware of. Ooh, man. Now it's getting tough. Top 3 for me from 1995 from Vauxhall and I. Now My Heart Is Full. Oh my God, I love this song. There's really not much on this album to snicker at, in my opinion, but Now My Heart Is Full. Not only is it such an amazing, great, perfectly written, beautiful song, but I love it as the side 1, track 1. I know it's a little bit slower sometimes than what I would prefer there to be for a side 1, track 1, especially when you're trying to grab somebody by the seeds right away, but I love this song. I think it just scores more points for how much I love the song than as a side 1, track 1. That's just how much I love Now My Heart Is Full. Who doesn't love Vauxhall and I? If you don't like Vauxhall and I, get out of here right now. Now it's getting pretty good. Now we're in the top 2. I mean, all of these songs are great, but both of these two songs, man, are just perfect. But number 2, slightly number 2. Both of these could easily be number 1. This is the decision that I strained over the most as far as this top of the ranking. But for me, number 2, slightly from 1985, The Headmaster Ritual. Oh my God, I love this song. This is one of the most perfectly written, amazing, beautiful, energetic, great, fun, epic songs in the entire Smiths catalog. I love it, not only as a song, but I love it as a side 1, track 1 to get the album going. Oh my God, Headmaster Ritual is just about as perfect a song as anybody has ever written. So for me, it's number 2, and unfortunately, it's just slightly less perfect written a song as the title track, the number one, side one, track one in the Morrissey catalog. For the title track from the 1986 classic, The Queen is Dead. This is my second favorite album in the Morrissey catalog. If you take away Bona Drag based on its compilation status, which I don't, it's always my number one, and this would be my number one album of all time. And The Queen is Dead is one of the most perfect songs ever written. I love the way the song starts. I love the lyrics. I love the music. I love it as a side one, track one. Am I gushing a little bit? Perhaps. But oh my God. This song just about blows my mind still every time I hear it. And there's not a bad second on this entire album. I always say that the Smiths kind of got better and better and better as the catalog went on. Starting with the self-titled record in 1984, and then Meat is Murder, and then Queen is Dead, and then Strange Ways. Now, I take this as being, I consider this to be the best Smiths album over Strange Ways, even though I think the band was continually getting better, only because of the song Girlfriend in a Coma, which is on Strange Ways, and this album is just perfect! Pretty much in every way. Queen is Dead is number one, side one, track one. Before I get out of here, real quick this week, not much news coming out of the Morrissey camp that I could find, apart from the fact that, of course, he was ripped this week by the Consequences of Sound website for his appearance on Good Day New York a couple weeks ago. Very predictable. If you've ever read anything by Consequences of Sound, I mean, I'm not saying this just as a Morrissey fan. I'm saying this as somebody who likes well-written words. That is one of the worst music websites out there. I mean, whatever. Their opinion doesn't really matter. That thing is a bag of shit, in my opinion. This week, I did find something interesting to go into the museum collection piece. You may have been aware of this. You probably were. I was not, actually. I found this at one of my local bookstores. This is a book. I haven't read it yet. I am backlogged on books right now. This one is called Morrissey, The Pageant of His Bleeding Heart by an author named Gavin Hopps. I had no idea this thing even existed, so I found it this week. I'm going to have to add it to my stack, relatively thick stack of books I have to read right now. I've been lazy lately, I'm not going to lie to you. But anyway, what this book is, apparently, is this is a scholastic look at the writing of Morrissey, both as a songwriter and as a poet. Back on the back cover, it says, "Finally, Morrissey's astonishing career as a writer and singer is treated with the scholarship it deserves." Highbrow, isn't it? Very fancy. Anyway, man, thank you so much for checking out this video. This is Archaic Records. My name is Jamie, coming at you from Nashville, Tennessee. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to check back every week for Morrissey Monday, my weekly celebration of all things Morrissey and the Smiths. At least when it's not late, like this week. I do apologize. Be sure to go out and support your local record store. Man, join in the conversation in the comment section. Where do you rank the Morrissey albums? Where do you rank the side one, track ones? I'd love to hear what you think. Check back on this channel periodically for other record content. I hope that everybody out there has a fun, safe, and great Halloween. And until next time, my friends, I'll talk to you then.